You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the December 18th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Historic Preservation Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
The meeting will come to order. Read the roll call, please.
Yes. Attorney Steve Hale.
Present.
Lawrence Zimmer, present. Kyle Anthony Petter.
Here.
Deb Parcell.
Present.
Joyce Dalton.
Present.
Pat Matsey.
Present.
And Anthony Hicks.
Present.
And I don't know what we're missing, but I think we have one, two.
Amy Bowman,
Amy is out.
as well as Dan Granquist
And
Okay.
Dwayne.
and Dwayne.
And Dwayne. Okay. So do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay.
If you call city council person,
Oh, yeah. Greg Coulter.
he's here.
Okay.
Thank
So we
you.
have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a approval of the agenda, please.
You may want to add your thought. Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. And the minutes for November 25th, did everyone have a chance to review those? Okay. Any questions or additions?
Yes, I would like to add the historic landmark ordinance in between rules and procedure and the 2025 certificate of appropriateness application and dates.
Repeat the title again, please.
Historic landmark ordinance.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes with the addition of the historical landmark ordinance?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I want to apologize. I do not have a statement of purpose to read.
Thought it would have.
Would you like to read it, Pat?
Sure.
Thank you.
Statement of purpose. Historic preservation is good for cities. No, not just good. Historic preservation is great for cities. The reasons preservation is great for cities are multiple: aesthetic, symbolic, cultural, social, educational, economic, and others. 24 reasons historic preservation is good for your community, prepared by Place Economics. And then there's a website. The erection, construction, enlargement, alteration, repair, demolition, color change, moving or maintenance of any building, structure, or aperture which is begun, continued, or maintained contrary to any provisions of this chapter 62 is hereby declared to be a nuisance and in violation of this chapter and unlawful. Any person, whether as principal, agent, owner, lessee, tenant, contractor, builder, architect, engineer, or otherwise, who violates any provisions of this chapter shall be punished as provided in section 1 through 7 of the Michigan City, Indiana Code. Michigan City, Indiana Code, section 62-2.
Thank you, Pat. any correspondence come in?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you. We will start with the COAs.
Okay. Turn on the microphone. Okay, so sorry, I did not bring my paper copies, so we're gonna try reading them here, and I don't have my agenda, so if I get off on the wrong one, let me know. First one I have is 2024-144 for 411 Franklin. It's a notable rated building built around 1880. So the project is to install a post and panel sign 66 inches wide and 60 inches high with 4x4-inch custom posts placed in existing flower bed, which I think you've seen that. That was on the application, I believe, and it could be up on the screen too. That's the building. The flower bed is to the south, right there. So that's where they're proposing to put it in there. So the finding of fact, the sign will be installed in an existing flower bed and not on the building. The size, style, and design are appropriate for the historic district and meets historic district guidelines. So the recommended motion is approval as submitted. Where the business.
Edward Jones.
Motion to approve as submitted?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is COA 2024-145. The property is 431 East 8th Street. It's rated notable. It's a Queen Anne built around 1895. The proposed project is replacing 15 windows with like units of the same size. These would be renewal by Andersen Windows is what's proposed. There's a lot of pictures in the application. They actually did an amazing job of submitting the application. There's great photos in there. All the windows are identified, so it's very good. And you can see in there, we didn't take any further pictures inside because we were provided with good information, but the exterior, we have photos of that. So the existing wood windows are not over 50% deteriorated. As we looked at them, there's some very ill-fitting storm windows. That one right there is a very good one, but there are some very ill-fitting storm windows. A lot of those white aluminum ones are bad, and so moisture has got in, and there's damage to the sill on behind the storm window. But the actual frame of the windows was very good. There were a lot of ropes that were missing. Some windows painted shut, that type of thing, but actual deterioration was minimal to the window itself. So the recommended motion, the guidelines ask for over 50% deterioration before we recommend replacement. So the motion recommended is denial of the replacement windows. The recommendation that staff would provide is a 30-day extension to investigate repair of the existing windows as well as new storm windows. Staff can also provide a list of wood window repair contractors and sources for storm windows.
Are there any questions?
I believe the applicant is here if he would like to speak.
No, come down.
I do have a question. Are the replacements he's proposing approved? Are they?
They're not on our pre-approved list. They have been approved in some historic districts. They're a composite, so they're not vinyl, and they are sized to fit the window.
Are there any questions from the group? My name is Michael Hayes. I'm actually the design consultant for Renewal by Andersen. I've worked in this area for about 7.5 years. And actually, guys, this is my fault that we're here. there's a little button on my iPad when I sell windows that I have to hit for historic or no.
Mhm.
Well, they're one on top of each other on our application, and I hit the wrong button.
Mhm.
So nothing was brought up about this until
Mhm.
it was time to apply for the
Yeah.
permit, which we do all the time
Mhm.
in Michigan. And I know that. I've sold here for 7.5 years. There is an issue, me personally, with this. The 30-day, please explain to me what that would do.
Well, any application that comes in, we have 30 days to act on it. And if we don't, it actually gets approved by a lack of action.
Mhm.
So we need to do something, but we can also extend another 30 days if we choose, rather than just flat out denying, but giving 30 more days for an applicant to gather more information. And then we review it again and make a final decision a month later.
May I request that? Or does the homeowner have to do that?
You can do that, yes. Mhm.
You can request.
The contractor or the owner. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, can I officially request that then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, then we
Thank
can
you very
just
much.
revisit in January.
Okay.
So-
And I know, guys, this is not your fault. This is my fault. I'll just tell you what the repercussions are moving forward. Nothing for you guys, and I understand again, this is my fault. Because I did not hit the correct button with my fat little stubby fingers, these windows have already been made. These windows are setting, and there's already an installation date. I know that does not sway you guys. That will burden heavily upon me, since I am the employee of Renewal by Anderson that actually signed the contract. So I'm going to be responsible for those windows financially. I know that may or may not sway, but just letting you know that is our process. This was an error, a simple error, not an oversight. It was an error on my part. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know, is the homeowner looking to replace these windows as like an economic thing? Is it like,
May I, and if I need to pause, please allow that for me. I sat with Ed in his home in Michigan City here and went over our project with him. And I found out just personally from him that this was a dream that he and his wife had. And that's why they purchased the home together. They're going to redo this home. It was a dream they had. Unfortunately, Miss Doherty passed away a couple months ago. So when I sat with Ed, he's still moving forward with this plan. He wants to do that. He and I sat and had many moments together. So he just wants to have a better home than is there now. He wants to be able to walk into his home and be able to not feel 20-degree temperatures in all the rooms, and especially the unfortunate folks that live upstairs. The 3 windows in that area surround their bed. It's cold as you know what in that home. So he wants to make it a better home than it is. So, questions, please.
Well, I don't think we necessarily have any questions. I make a motion to deny this COA for the replacement windows, and recommend a 30-day extension, so that they can have time to come back and.
May I ask a question concerning the motion? Is it your practice in the past that you would deny a application and then grant an extension of time? Or do you just grant the extension of time?
Typically, we will provide the 30-day extension, and then when they come back, if not enough information has been provided, then it would be denied. So kind of how Deb had it set up, it's almost 2 separate motions of either deny it or go with the 30-day extension.
Okay. Then perhaps we should clarify what the motion is, and I would remind you that a motion should I think, do three things. One, it should state that you're making a motion or a decision. Two, it should adequately describe the certificate of appropriateness, so that would mean its number. And three, then it should probably adopt any findings that are presented by the staff.
Okay.
Got that, Anthony?
So may I ask, so how would you word the,
There are several ways, but I think it would be appropriate to say that you move or I move that COA 20-2024-145 be extended for a 30-day extension to our next regular meeting, and we adopt any findings presented by staff in your report. Something like that.
all right,
My words are not.
I got you. I would make a motion to grant a 30-day extension for COA 2024-145 to until our next regular meeting, and then adopt any findings that the staff may have.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is COA 2024-146, properties at 421 East 8th Street. These are very similar addresses. It's rated outstanding. It's a Queen Anne built in 1890. We've seen this one a few times before. They're continuing to work on it. The proposed project this time is replacing the existing vinyl windows with white vinyl windows, sized to fit the openings. The two second-floor windows on the west facade and on the rear facade need to be replaced with casement windows with a simulated divided light, which will be a division horizontally in the center to create the look of a double-hung window, but to provide egress. So the finding of fact, replacing vinyl windows with vinyl windows can be approved by staff, but in this case, the change of the two windows from double hung to casement style for egress is a change of style, and that needs commission approval. So that's why it's in front of you right now. And finally, casement windows should be made to look like double hung windows through the use of simulated divided light applied grids with spacers between the glass and not grids between the glass. So the motion is approval as submitted. Recommended motion.
I move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Once again, could we make a specific reference to the certificate of appropriateness?
Sure. I move to approve COA 2024-146 for 421 East 8th Street, window replacement, vinyl for vinyl with simulated divided lights as Deb just described.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Lisa. Okay, the next one is COA 2024-147. This is for the property at 221 West 8th Street, a contributing Queen Anne built in 1895. So this is one we have seen several times. Obviously, that is not a recent photograph, but it does look like them. The project was to replace the roof, siding, soffit and fascia, and gutters. The siding proposed is James Hardy lap statement siding in Arctic white, soffit, fascia, and gutters in mastic white, and the roof has already been approved.
No, not yet. I'm just waiting for it
Okay.
to all.
I thought
be
it had been approved.
Oh.
Okay, well, in that case, include the roof and forget I said that about the roof. I had that in notes from an old meeting. So vinyl siding had been proposed for this a month or two ago, so that was denied. So the finding of fact, aluminum siding has had hail damage. James Hardy siding is on the pre-approved materials list. The replacement of the existing soffit, fascia, and gutters is an in-kind replacement. So the suggested motion is approval as submitted with the condition of horizontal, not vertical, orientation of the siding, smooth, not textured surface if available, and that if there is wood siding underneath, which we believe there is, under the aluminum, that wood siding be retained and not removed. I failed to write that on the staff report, but that is something that Kyle and I discussed, and we don't want to lose that character defining feature of that wood siding, because down the road, someone may want to take off this siding and go back to the original.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve COA 2024-147, 221 West 8th Street for the, this is not the roof?
Oh, and the roof also, yes.
So roof, siding, and gutters
Yes.
with recommended actions per Deb's description.
May I ask a question? Just to be clear, when you say with the recommendations of Deb, did you mean the conditions
The
that she
conditions.
imposed?
Yes,
And that includes an additional verbal condition that she applied in addition to the two that are written in a report?
yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, next is COA. It's 2024-148. I'm sorry, I did not change that on the staff report I sent out because I carried it over from 23. It is not 2023-055. It is 2024-148. Sorry. That is for the property at 514 East 8th Street. It's notable, a craftsman built in 1910. And tonight we're looking at the one-story brick garage behind the main structure of the house. So this was reviewed in 2023, I believe July of 2023. So the finding of fact on this, and you will definitely want to see all the pictures. I know there were ones included, but you want to look at it here. Demolition was denied with COA 2023-055 on July 24th, 2023. The building has continued to suffer demolition by neglect. Staff was contacted about a collapsed wall, but site inspection indicates the wall did not fall on its own. So if you look at the pictures, there's a rope and a tow strap in there. And so it would indicate that there was more than just typical forces of nature. An engineering report had been requested previously for the previous COA, and that was submitted. It recommended demolition of the garage, but it does not state the structure is structurally compromised. It just recommended demolition. The roof has previously collapsed prior to this. The garage door and the window glass is gone. The remaining walls appear to be stable. Demolition, per the guidelines, is a last resort. And finally, the building has significance as a secondary structure at the rear of a notable rated house. Now, the recommendation, I didn't really know where to take this because fines are allowed for things like this, for demolition without permission. I mean, this was denied by the commission. There was no demolition permit issued by the building department. And I don't know exactly what we're allowed to do in this situation. So I believe since we don't know how and when the wall came down, we need more information on that, as well as legal counsel to help with a recommended action or actions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Is the applicant here? And
The applicant's here.
Did you have anything you'd want to say?
It sounds like there are a few questions.
Yes.
Alrighty. Do I make a speech or do I just get questions?
Well, would you tell us your name?
Sure. My name is Steve Vignari.
Okay.
well, I have a question. So did you all tear it down or did it actually come
No.
down?
So what happened was there was a backup in the sewer there and we were called out by the homeowner who's not a resident of the property to go out and take a look at it. We actually had the sewer scoped out and found that there was tree roots in the line and noted the damage at that time and called and they said, you're gonna have to dig if you wanna replace the sewer line. It goes roughly 11 feet deep. And so at that time, we went to call in and ask for it to be, ask for it to actually have the demolition done. And then I'd actually texted Deb
Right.
and Deb texted back, a series of a couple of things, but one, how it happened. I was like, how it happened? I mean, it's an old building, it fell down. And then I went and Kyle took some pictures and then I went by to look at it and noted the same things that you guys see, which is straps and rope and
Yeah.
asked what happened. At first thought probably it was probably thought it was somebody trying to hold up a portion of the wall, and then was also informed by the homeowner that there had been some squatters in there. So
Yeah.
who and what and how, I don't know, but those are the facts as far as I know them. I mean, yeah, it does. I on my end want to assume the best that it was trying to aid in holding up the structure. Although, quite honestly, I mean, I look at it and see I have two eyes and half a brain, so it doesn't look great. But I don't know any details outside of what I'm telling you that we were going to do a different project. We've if allowed to take it down, we would use the brick to actually do some restoration of the front house, the street facing house, because there's significant deterioration of that as well. So that's what those we'd probably just take it, replace the sewer as needed, and then use the existing brick to repair the main structure. I think I hit everything that I know.
Is the building an impediment to doing the sewer repair?
It's directly over top of it. Yeah, we had it scoped out and it goes right through the center, kind of corner to corner through the garage.
Any other questions?
Deb had mentioned that there might be a possibility of some kind of a fine being imposed for.
Yeah, I mean, part of that has to do with how it happened.
Would that-
Because, you know, we didn't know. Typically, that's what happens when
Would
there's
that
a,
be something in our purview or would that come from the building? That's,
That would come from the building department. We don't issue fines. It's the building department that would do that, but you could.
May I make a comment? It seems to me that although we've had just a very brief discussion about your ability to enforce your decisions and impose fines and so forth, we did mention very briefly that it's very problematic that you have any power to impose fines. But I believe that you do very definitely have the power to forward something by a motion to the building department recommending that a fine be imposed, that the building department look into it and impose a fine if no building permit was granted for the demolition of the structure. Now that's in our findings. Deb has reported that she found no building permit being issued. So it'd be very appropriate for this body to make that recommendation and allow the building department to do their work. As to whether or not you grant demolition approval, I have a comment at that on that if you want to hear it. I worry that it might be more difficult to enforce cleanup if you refuse to allow demolition. And I just make that comment.
I think we all agree with that, just by looking at it. And my only comment was, I am sorry for you that you did not know procedure that should have been followed.
Oh, I'm not the homeowner.
I know you're not,
Oh,
but
okay.
did the homeowner know the procedure?
She does. We're doing several projects in several areas. So we've been before this committee. I think this is time 5. So I mean, we understood it, and I don't think it was done by the homeowner. She was actually she had I don't know, I think it was a workplace injury, and she was actually in Chicago, and there was another person staying at the house who had actually asked us to come because there was raw sewage in the basement. And when there was raw sewage, then that led to the chain of events that
Sure.
brings us here. Oh, hey, look, there's that wall collapsed.
So I have a question. I don't know if it would be for Deb or our attorney. If we grant the demolition, would it make it harder for the building department to go about finding, how the wall came down, or does that really
It's going to be difficult unless someone has some camera that shows exactly who did it, because right now all we have is pictures and a toe strap. I mean, kind of how Steve said, I mean, it's clear that it didn't necessarily, there was more than gravity
Right.
here, but how or who, it's unknown.
right? So now, follow-up question, then would we be more concerned with how this looks and the impending hazard that it's causing versus getting to the bottom of that? Or how do we prioritize which one?
I mean, I think part of the concern is, and it's not just his garage, but if someone was to, and I don't know who started the demolition process, but if another homeowner was to intentionally try to tear down their house, tear down their garage, that in a way would the board kind of in a way aid in that the demolition process, even if it goes against our guidelines.
And that's why I asked that question, because it feels like if we grant the demolition, then it's saying well, we really don't care about how this happened in the first place, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I do think that, I mean, the proper way the demolition like this would happen would in no way be the way that it was done. So especially an old brick like that, you can literally take it off layer by layer and stack it on pallets. It's actually a very simple and non-hazardous demolition. The way that it was done was definitely hazardous. With knowing that there had been squatters there at one point, I didn't actually know that until today when I was talking to the homeowner. Hey, I've got this meeting tonight to talk about it. Here's kind of what we've given them, and she said, oh, well, it could have been the squatters. The squatters. Well, this kind of do we have to wait till the 9th hour to know about this? I mean, so then my supposition is they got, I don't know if I can say pissed, I don't know. They got upset when they were removed and came back and did damage. But I mean, that's supposition, but that's never how you would never do the demolition in that way, because it just presents hazards to the personnel and to the property around it. Because if a wall had collapsed, I don't know if, does it show in the findings that there's another, there's a wall
It doesn't in the pictures, but
5 to 6 feet away, and if that northern wall had fallen, it would have taken out the gentleman to the
Mhm.
north. It would have,
Right.
could have easily significantly damaged his
Mhm.
property. And I would say now his property is actually in danger of, because that collapse, it's right adjacent to that. So it is, I would be concerned about it happening now through just purely natural causes. No toe strap involved.
I have a question of Kyle. May I?
of course.
Yes.
Kyle, will the building department enforce a nuisance or similar property that is left in this state?
They would, and they have with multiple properties in the historic district that have been unresolved.
So this body would have a double whammy approach here, that both the failure to have a permit for the demolition, which seems to be rather straightforward, and a cleanup of this site, an enforced cleanup with deadlines that also could be, it appears, rather straightforward. So I'm just suggesting, I guess, that you do have some enforcement powers. They're just not the typical ones that you'd like to impose a fine or something like that.
So I guess I have another question. So then with all of this now, this information, what would staff recommend or our attorney recommend a motion be?
Much as I hate to say it, I think it is demolition's probably inevitable because of the need to repair the line underneath it. That would be my reason for it. The walls that are left, amazingly, are still pretty good shape for all they've been through. So I think that speaks to the construction of the building overall. But knowing that the sewer line goes underneath, that there's an issue there.
It's probably more of a justification than if it wasn't under there, because there's no other way to address that issue. I mean,
There is no other way to address that issue.
So
I know it's
because of
secondary,
that.
but there's
Yeah,
no other way to do it.
I
This would be a
We
case of
need
if it was a brand new garage, you would have to tear down the brand new garage to
yeah.
fix the sewer and then rebuild the garage.
So I think that needs to be in the wording of your motion so that we understand. And if somebody comes back in the future and says, hey, you allowed this demolition, we can say, but there were extenuating circumstances. There was a sewer line. There was no other choice. It went directly under the building and the building had been vandalized. So I think those are justifications for it. It's just a very unusual situation. And also, putting that condition in there, I know he said they're going to do it, and I trust him completely on that. But just to have it in
Yeah,
writing,
we would do it
that
immediately.
you would-
'Cause it's on, now there's a portion of unsupported roof that was already collapsed that it's a danger.
yeah,
now.
that's a public hazard, which also is a reason to allow demolition. One of the few, actually, is something being a public safety hazard. So there's that, and the condition that they save the brick. There on the property.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah, we'll
that's that we
palletize
would
it.
use them. So,
As you would with salvaging brick.
yeah. So,
What kind of a timeline would we need to?
I mean, I would say have it completed by the January meeting, which is the 27th.
Well, I was gonna say weather permitting, but I think
Okay,
either
well,
way,
yeah, weather permitting.
unless we get some wild lake effect snow and what blizzard of 89 kind of weather. But
Let's hope not.
yeah, outside of that, and I mean, we've again come before this board a lot,
Yes.
and we've tried to work with everything as needed and continue moving forward. Right now I don't think we actually had to come before the board, but 916, the Baxter House, like we're doing restoration completely of those windows. We're actually having Knesset glass and Crown Point replace it, and at a cost of roughly $40,000 to restore windows. Did it at 832 Pine, restored, and are doing a lot of restoration projects. So this isn't a case of it would have cost too much, so let's just do something unorthodox. Again, it's a complete safety hazard, what happened in the first place, outside of everything else. So we've tried to make sure that we comply, and we want to be, I think the first time I ever came in here, I said, we want to be good neighbors. We want to be long-term partners with the city and continue to do that. And hopefully we've proven that to some degree by now.
I have a separate question. Are you all, once you demo it, are you planning to keep it that way because of the sewer line, or do you plan on rebuilding?
We probably would just grass it and then the sewers under there. So if there were any issues in the future, it doesn't make sense to rebuild it for the same reasons that a couple minutes ago, if anything ever happened in the past or anything ever happened in the future, it would again need to be demolished to do any work there. And there's really no other route. There's there's probably 25 feet between the back of the house and the property line. So there's nowhere to position it to move it. And then the sewer line for the city runs through the alley. There's nowhere else to put it. So.
Okay, one last question for the attorney. I have moved some. Would it be appropriate to add to the motion that we encourage the building department to investigate?
I was going to suggest that the motion would be a long one and composed of many subsections, but that referencing this particular project, you would approve the demolition, but adopt the staff department report and the findings, as well as the discussion concerning the sewer line, and that you require that a letter from the commission be directed to the building department requesting that they review this matter and consider appropriate enforcement regarding both demolition and the nuisance that has been left. I'm not sure if that covers everything that you were thinking, but that was my thought.
And I would add just one condition, that all of the brick be saved and salvaged and kept on site.
Yeah, that is the plan. So
Okay.
Yeah, that's
We just don't want it to end up in a dumpster and hauled away.
right.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be the only thing that would be put in a dumpster or the wood components.
Right.
Well, and any concrete. So I know I'm not directly involved in that portion of it, but what is the process of if call them a third party has vandalized the property? I've been run into that before. Well, I mean, I have. We had a fire at 832 Pine, but we didn't get fines for somebody starting a fire on our property.
Well, in addition to civil penalties, there's also the fact that such activity is a crime and is punishable as a criminal act.
Sure.
And so if the police would investigate and the prosecuting attorney would deem it advisable to file charges, someone could be prosecuted for doing something like this or setting a fire or similar activity.
Are we ready for a motion?
I guess I still am a little bit unclear as the property owner, where that leaves a property owner. Does it leave a property owner in the position where if their property is vandalized, that they bear the consequences unless a perpetrator is found? Is that what I'm hearing, or no?
That isn't what I meant to convey.
Okay. That's the part I'm just unclear on, because outside of this, we do have other properties that have been, I mean, I was called 3 weeks ago and let know that somebody had kicked in the front door on 832 Pine.
Well, you mentioned a third party, and so my comment regarding criminal activity was based on third
Understood.
party and not homeowner.
Understood. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand for my knowledge. So thank you.
Okay, well, we'll give this motion a go. I will make a motion to grant the demolition for COA 2024-148 for 514 8th Street with a completion date by January 27th meeting, saving the brick and salvage and kept on site. Also with a letter from our commission to the building department, asking them to investigate the demolition without a permit and the nuisance created by the unstable garage, pursuant to possibly invoking some fines.
I second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, finally, in COAs, we have 2024-149 for 605 Franklin Street. It's a contributing building, commercial Italianate style, built around 1880. The project is to install a 34-inch high by 259-inch wide sign on the front of the office in the area of wood above the storefront, as well as applied graphics at the bottom of each storefront window and on the door, which you actually can see in the picture because they're already there. The finding of fact, the large sign will be installed above the storefront and will not change the character of the building. This size, style, and design are appropriate for the building. So the recommended motion is approval as submitted.
So you've seen a picture of what it's going to look like? Because we haven't. Oh, okay.
They submitted that with the application.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Right.
So in that horizontal where the wood infill area is up there is where they want to put it. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve COA 2024-149 as submitted by staff.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we are on maintenance review.
We didn't have any maintenance reviews, but it's not, I mean, there's a good chance we'll have some next month, but just not this month.
Thank you. Any certificates of appropriateness that are in progress?
Kind of how Steve had said previously, 916 Pine, the window, he kind of, as he alluded, the windows are slowly being installed. It seems that he must have found a salvaged door at some point, because it's not the door originally, which looks very nice. It has a nice stained color to it. That's probably the only one I can think of immediately off top of head that I can think of that's currently in progress that would be noticeable.
Okay. Any committee reports?
None that I'm aware of.
Old tabled business?
None.
New business? First one is update on getting the word out about the historic districts.
I did bring samples of some things, I think, I hope. Hope I didn't leave everything on my desk at home. Yes. So that's something, I mean, we've talked about this for, well, how long have you been here, Kyle?
2.5 years.
All that time, pretty much, I think we've been talking about it and we've just not moved forward. So I printed up some things that you can look at from other communities. Some of them do them as a door hanger. So that would be no postage. It would be a lot of walking, but that wouldn't be a bad thing for us to get out. And we started doing that once upon a time.
Yes,
didn't
we did.
Long
Right.
ago on a very cold night
And rainy
here.
night.
I was not dressed for it, but that's neither here nor there. But we could do this. You know, that would be very good. This is a trifold. I'll send these. This is a trifold that just gives some information, fairly cheap to mail, or it could be inserted in something else. That's another one. This one has so much crammed into it. It's absolutely amazing. This is from Kalamazoo, and they have like everything there. They have examples of what to do, what not to do, little pictures. It's very informative. That would be a little more expensive to send out. Another one that's kind of a welcome one to a new neighborhood. So we'll send that one that way. And then we've got a letter that gets sent out. This is from Guilford, Texas, I believe. Several pages long that explains what it is to have, they call them historic landmarks. Here it would be a locally designated property, but it talks about what's required in the advantages of that. There's just a really quick one that folds in half that could go in something else that says, do you know you live in a historic district? And then just has some bullet points about that. I mean, to me, it seems like the less verbiage, the better. People might actually absorb some of it if it's not too wordy. So that's kind of a good one. And finally, there's this one that's actually a postcard, and I couldn't get it to print properly. My printer, I didn't take a lot of time with that, but they send it out every spring in Grand Rapids. And so just has some cute picture on the front and then on the back saying that it's time for COAs and workshops. And they just quickly remind people that they need a COA if they're going to work on the exterior of their home. And they're actually doing some kind of award thing. So there's a little about that. And then they also talk about an upcoming workshop all in the back of a postcard. So another lot.
I wonder if this could be a door hanger.
I think it could be.
This one, I think I wouldn't want to read it all.
I would never read that much, to be honest. That's just too wordy, I think. I don't know if you want to send that down.
It's good information, but
I like letters, but yeah, that's a bit wordy.
Yeah.
I would not. Yeah,
Do you think the door hanger thing?
I love the door hangers. Those are really good.
yeah. And I think if we could do the postcard
postcard.
idea, I mean, we could do.
Well, deciding what information goes
Yeah.
on the door
Right,
hanger,
yes.
but I like the idea of door hangers because that goes directly to that
Right.
property. My other thought was some of those pamphlets you were showing that describe what you would need to do in a historic district.
Mm-hmm.
If we could get those to realtors, and when they sell a home
Yes.
in a historic district, they could pass that along to the new homeowner so
Okay.
that they go into it understanding what they're
Yeah.
signing up for.
Because I know there's a few homes that recently have been put on the market in the historic district. I'm aware of at least two. One that was probably done within the last day or two. I didn't see anything about being on being in the district. And I think the other one might have made mention to just Elston. I don't know if it, but that's kind of getting out in front and kind of contacting the realtors who are selling this home, say, hey, just make sure to, include that you're part of this.
We have some
Mhm.
information that we'd love for you to pass along to people as they're looking at properties.
Did you see the door hanger, Larry?
I did, yeah.
You did. Would you want me to try and come up with something by next meeting for a
I
door
was gonna
hanger?
say, yes, that would be cool to have, especially at the start of the year.
Okay, so this one reminds you that you're in a historic district, that you need exterior projects reviewed. We could put a link on there to the city website. Anything else that you would want?
I think that's good. Maybe our meeting dates, but if that's on the website, then
As long as the website is updated with the new dates for
Yeah.
this year, then yes, which hopefully you guys approve tonight.
Okay. Well, let me take a run at that if you're good with that idea, and then we can look at that next month and hopefully be something we can print and act on then. Okay.
Anything else on that? Okay, then we'll move on to the second one, the CLG discussion.
Okay, that one's going to take a little longer. So let me get the right stack of stuff. I'm not going to read all this. This is actually a CLG application example. So I just brought along and said in case someone has questions. So Dwayne's not here. I was going to answer his question. I do have Dwayne's resume. But I need a resume from you two. Yes, so you will get a reminder after the first of the year. So I'm going to be in and out of the office a lot. I'm sure everybody's got stuff going on. I'm not going to pester you until 2025. Okay. But then I will be
hopefully I'll get it to you before then. So,
good.
Yes.
Then I won't nag.
When they get home tonight, they're gonna
See who's first, right? Okay, so that's the big thing I need from you guys. So I was looking over what else we need. We're going to need a letter from the mayor saying that the mayor supports what we're doing here, wanting to create this certified local government. So that's a thing we can handle easily. We need to, of course, have a preservation ordinance, a preservation commission. We have that. We need to send them a copy of our ordinance. We can do that. This part I don't know about, so you have to tell me who this is. It says the local government shall demonstrate compliance with Section 106 in regard to federally funded, assisted, or permitted activities undertaken by local government. So we have to demonstrate compliance either as local governments that are entitlement cities. Are you an entitlement city?
I don't know, and I don't necessarily.
Don't know who does know that.
Yeah.
Maybe our city council person may know.
Yes, maybe.
He doesn't have.
He's busy right now. You're just a busy person.
That's it.
So, or we could tell them that we're not a CDBG entitlement.
We receive funding.
CDBG funding.
So the person may be. I'll talk with our
Okay.
coordinator for federal
I'll send
funds.
you this
Yeah.
part here and maybe you can
And I
find out
can-
who that is.
Yeah.
It's no one sitting here.
Yeah, I think I know who it is. I need to just, yes, if you could send that stuff, I'll send her an email. I know she's very busy, but she should be able to tell because she's in charge of those
Okay.
types of funds.
I can also send a copy of the page. This is Crawfordsville's application, and then she could see what kind of things they wrote in theirs, and hopefully that would make sense. So we need that. We obviously have enough members. We do need a list with the information of term expiration dates because everyone's on a 3-year term and they should be staggered. Do we have that?
I think it might be on the
Do you
website.
think?
I believe it should be. I mean, I don't know if
It
has been updated.
is on the website, but
It hasn't been
it hasn't
updated.
been updated because
Oh.
I'm on a 1 year.
Didn't Mayor Angie just ask the city clerk to supply her with a list of
Yes, she
everybody's
did.
commissions and expirations. So there should be one available.
Okay, we'll see what we can do on that. You already hold regular meetings, rules of procedure, we need to send a copy of that, and that's coming right up.
Yes.
right? That's, once I get done, that's Kyle. So, another thing that you will have to do going forward, so just something to be thinking about every year, they want a majority of the members of the commission to attend at least one informational or educational meeting, training session, conference, that type of thing. Conference is always good. Next year, preservation conference is in Fort Wayne, so it's not as far away as this year. So that's a little more doable. And once you become a CLG, 2 scholarships are provided per commission. So 2 of you could go for free, which is a real nice benefit. Other things, so occasionally I do training sessions and those count. And once you become a CLG, at the present time anyway, in the state of Indiana, they give you a membership to the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, who do amazing trainings online about every month or every other month. They're often scheduled over the lunch hour, but the nice part is if you go in and register, they will send you a link afterwards and you can watch it at your convenience if that time doesn't suit you. And they're really good. They're very understandable, relatable, and stuff you guys work with all the time. So that's something you'll need to do going forward. We need to have an active program to designate local landmarks. And we're working on that too, right? And once you are a CLG, if there's a Section 106 review, so that's when there's federal funding for a project, they look at all the properties within a certain radius of that project to see what the impact is on the historic buildings in that area. And it really does matter. I mean, there's one close to my home where they were widening a road, and one of the houses along that road was rated outstanding. And they felt that the new road would be too close to the door. And so they actually moved the road. So it does matter. So those 106 reviews initially will start here with you guys. So you'll look at it and say, how does this impact historic buildings here in Michigan City? You'll send that information to the state and then they'll do further review. So there aren't lots of those, but when those do come along.
I think the most recent Section 106 review probably would have been the double tracking.
And that was huge.
Yeah.
So they aren't usually that big. Sometimes it's just like a cell phone tower's going up or something like that. Okay. And then we just have to prove that we follow the open door laws, which we do, allowing the public to come to meetings, posting notices, that's already done, that you have access to professional preservation staff, so that's city staff as well as myself. And we'll submit our resumes with this application. And I think that's pretty much it, actually. So I think we're pretty good once I have some resumes. Thank you very much. And yeah, oh, one other thing, Kyle, and I think you've got this, a list of properties, like a map or the number of properties. Do you have that?
I will. I mean, I could get you a map.
Okay,
I can get you a map of all of them.
that would
I
be.
don't know if you really want all the addresses. It's
I
a
really
pretty big
don't.
spreadsheet.
I don't think they do either. So, okay, well, I think we're in pretty good shape then. So we'll move forward with that. We should have a good report for you next month.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And since there's no public here except 2 gentlemen sitting out there that I know don't want to comment on anything, we'll move to the commission and
You've
staff.
got
We have the rules and the procedures.
C and D.
Yeah, C and D, and then as well as technically D is really actually E now.
Okay.
So I took it upon myself to take the our essentially our workshop, to take those notes and to kind of revamp the document. I included it in the packets. If you would like, I can pass around the policies and procedures for our workshops and public hearings first. So I took the document and kind of made the changes from the previous document that had the highlights as well as the comments that had been made. We don't necessarily need to approve it tonight, but if there is any changes we would like to make, kind of let's have them added. Let's have that discussion. I'll pass this.
It was in the packet that
Yes.
Kyle gave us, so,
Yes.
would you rather that we look this over, Kyle, and then maybe email you before our next meeting?
I mean, ideally, if you guys feel comfortable, I would like to have it try to approved by the January meeting if possible.
Yeah.
I'm trying to try to get some of these documents completed before.
And we'll need that to send with the CLG application.
So I have a question. So, excuse me, as far as the rules and procedures, this is updated to have what we discussed at our workshop?
Yes.
Yes. Well, then I don't see why we couldn't approve it tonight. And then could we approve it tonight, and then if we look it over and we have some questions or anything, we could bring it back at our January meeting and like amend it or anything like that? Or
I mean, I think we would be able to. I mean, that is part of it, that you could amend the document if seen fit. I just know that me and legal counsel have not necessarily had a chance. I have not asked him to look over it yet. So I don't know if he's going to have, if Steve would have any comments. I just pretty much kind of took all the comments and threw them together, and now I'm kind of just quickly presenting it to you. So I haven't quite had it vented out. If there was any comments, I just wanted to make sure that I had this in your packet for you guys to review if you had seen any kind of initial concerns.
So maybe just make sure we put it on the agenda for January
Yes.
to do the approval.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody could look over it, like I had said earlier, and if you see something that jumps out at you, let Kyle know right away via email, and so he can either address it. And that also would give Steve Hale the opportunity to do the same. That way, we're not waiting to the January meeting to try to do it all. So at least we would be able to have read it, approve what we did or didn't like on it, and Kyle would know.
Yeah.
So that's just my suggestion.
As well as, yeah, I mean, both for the workshops and public hearings, as well as the
Yes.
rules and procedures.
Yes.
That way. Yeah.
So you all have homework, along with two people who have something else besides that. I had to do it. I had to do it.
That was helpful.
Okay.
So the next one is going to be the historic landmark ordinance. Me and Deb recently we had an individual who has a property that is not near any historic district, but would like to have their property become a historic landmark. But currently we don't have any legislation to be able to do kind of single site designations. So I kind of did my first round of what I thought the ordinance might look like. No one else has looked at this other than pretty much what I had written. So I know this will be a process in terms of going through the proper channels. But I just wanted to make sure to get this out in front of you guys. So this is based off of what our ordinance is for our districts, but I tried to tailor it in a way that it would be more specific to an individual site.
You remember when they did the one on Cleveland Ave? It's got the historic sign in front by the tree in front of it. It's like in the 3200 block.
No.
And that was one that was specially done, and they even came from Fort Wayne. Where is I don't remember
The
where,
Frost House.
but they had yes, and they had a big ceremony there.
I thought it was only a it was an individually listed national register.
Because they tried to do the other, and I didn't know if they did or not.
Yeah, we don't have any locally designated
Okay.
single sites,
Okay.
In Michigan City.
and we should. So-
Yes. Okay. Any questions about that?
So I don't know if you guys want to read. Oh, I don't know if we want to have a workshop in January about this. I just want to make sure that I get as much information out in front of you guys before the January meeting.
Might
Start
be a
this
bad
process.
idea, because that
I think
is
a
a
workshop would be-
change to the ordinance, so that's gonna have to go in front of the council. So the sooner we get that moving, the better. Here comes.
Here comes the council.
So we could always do first reading and then do a workshop. That's usually the better
Okay.
way to do it. I don't know if we want to start that in Jan. Is there a rush to get it done in January?
Yeah.
Started in January? Okay.
There will be.
We need it for the CLG application, and yeah, and we have someone who wants to designate a property, so we've already held them off several
A few
months.
months.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that the Frost House isn't nationally registered in the same way as a landmark.
I
mean,
know.
That's a quick example.
Yeah.
The lighthouse isn't even a landmark? Obviously not.
Not
Okay.
locally, no.
Cool.
Mm-mm.
This is the start of a lot of work then. This
Correct.
is awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we need to do that stuff, because that's really the only thing that provides protection. Because if it's a National Register property, it could be torn down. So we don't want to see that happening.
So do we need to come before you or can we?
I can
Yeah.
introduce it.
Okay.
And then you've looked over.
He is
There's
not
a
yet.
couple- Okay.
It's not. It's only what I've written.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
have some people
Let-
look over it,
yeah.
and then I can introduce it probably at the second meeting. I don't know if it's an organizational one is the first one or not.
Okay.
Either way, so we can look at it in January.
Yeah.
Probably a workshop in February.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Steve, would that be something that if Kyle got it to you, you could kind of look it over?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
So the last thing I have is I included in your packets the 2025 certificate of appropriateness applications as well as the dates. It's really no different than last year, other than the dates have changed, as well as I don't know. I still have the application fee highlighted. My understanding was we were working on implementing fees across the city. I don't know if this was included in kind of those fees that were to be implemented. I don't know if that was external or internal. That's why it's still highlighted, but it's no different than any than previous. I just wanted to get the dates out there. So then I could get it to the respected parties, so then they could have the days for next year on their calendar.
Any question? Thank you, Kyle.
Excuse me, may I make a comment or ask a question? Should at least the schedule be approved by way of a motion?
Yes, I mean, the entire application as well as the dates should be.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the COAs of 2025 and the dates for 2025.
Do I have a second?
I'd like just to ask a clarification. When you say dates, you mean both the Historic Preservation Commission deadline dates as well as our
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
dates for 2025 into January of 2026?
That is correct.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. You did a lot of work, so you can go on vacation.
Soon, of sorts.
Good, good. Okay, Larry, I know you had a couple things you wanted to
Yes.
discuss.
Thank you. So as everybody can see, the new station block garage is out of the ground. It's at the top, I think. And everybody remembers, I don't know how many years ago, we had at least 2 meetings that I remember with the developer and the architects. One of them was right here in this room. And we talked at length about how this building is in the historic district, the Elston Grove Historic District. And we voiced our concerns about the scale. We knew the garage was going to be where it was. We voiced our concerns about the scale, the proportions, how they could treat the facade to help it feel as comfortable within the historic district, especially since the north facade and the east facade face directly into those neighborhoods with houses directly across the street. So as you can see now, the south facade has the punched window openings in it, and it looks quite nice. And I have the drawings open here so everybody can take a look at it. But for some reason, the communication seems to have broken down, or plans changed and we weren't notified. But those punched window openings do not continue around the other 2 facades of the building. There's just these large kind of brutalist, horizontal slat openings. They use red brick on it, so that part is correct. But they didn't do the punched window openings. And I think it looks really quite not good. And so I'm trying to understand where did the communication, somebody approved these drawings and and then they ran with it. So somebody approved this, not without understanding what we had agreed on, which was to have punched window openings on the whole building so that it related to all parts of the historic district, in particular, the east and the north facades. And so I'm wondering if we could put together some kind of a letter to the city council, the mayor, I don't know what other parties are involved, the redevelopment commission, whatever, and, try to figure out after the fact now, what can we do to ameliorate these 2 brutal facades that are just kind of not right.
Kind of looks like an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did it beautifully on the south facade, but that doesn't even face the historic district.
No.
So it's not like they didn't understand where we were coming from, because they did it on one side. Why didn't they feel it was appropriate to do it on the other 2 sides, which are really more important? So that's just very concerning to me, because now we're going to have to live with this forever. And I'm wondering if there's some treatment that they could do now on those east and north facades to bring down the scale, somehow do something to help it relate to the houses in the neighborhood directly across the street. So I don't know if there's any steps we could take, at least to voice our displeasure with what's taken place here.
I like the I like the idea of a letter, and then if we don't get any comment or they don't take it serious, try to bring them in front of the commission, maybe all parties, whoever's involved with it, because it's funny that you emailed us to talk about it, because I wrote past it today and I thought that was odd myself, like, wait, it doesn't go around the whole building. So yeah.
Well, I'd be happy to craft a letter, and I could send it to everybody to look at, and then maybe we can discuss it at the next meeting and decide
That would be great.
what would be the next course of action.
And can we put you on our list to get the letter, Greg?
Well, he'd be copied on it anyway, because he's part of the.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
No, Larry, that would be great if you would do that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comment or anything they need to bring before us? Okay, then I'm just going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and behave, please. If not, you have to get in your resumes before Friday.
Listen, I will have those in before January 1, 2025.
Yes.
I promise I will have
I will
Thank
hunt you
you.
down.
Yes.
I think she's got your address.
I was just going
I
to say,
do,
yes,
actually,
yes.
yes.
So,
Okay, anything else? Thank you all very much. And thank you, Greg.